Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and namaste. We are back again today with none other than our dear Grandpa Mike. He is an amazing human being, a very cooperative, and a very loving and caring father. So, here I hand over the stage to him without wasting any time. Today is going to be our last session for the storytelling season 1. We will definitely be giving you the information about season 2 once we've planned it. Thank you so much, and I'm handing over the stage to Dr. Mike.
Hello. I'm
Namaste.
playing a little bit of music here on my instrument. It sits on my lap, unlike a guitar that you hold in your hand, or unlike a violin. This sits on your lap, and I just like to play a little bit to say hello. And then I'd like to tell you a story. Well, my name is Dr. Mike Lockett, and you have seen introductions about me. I was a teacher for 21 years. Whoa, that's a long time. Then I was a principal and headmaster and a central office administrator where I ran programs in 21 schools for 12 more years. That is a longer time. How can 12 be longer than 21? If you are ever a school administrator, everything seems like it takes 20 times longer than when you are a happy classroom teacher. But I have been telling stories for more than 40 years, and I love telling tales from around the world. But there's something else that I like to do. I like to write books, and this is one of my stories. Now, I get my ideas from books that have been written long ago, especially from folk tales. The word folk, I'm going to ask this later, so I hope you know it. The word folk means people, and a folk tale is a story that belongs to the people. And if a story has been told over 100 years ago, and it was a folk tale meant for the people, any of you can read that story, and any of you can rewrite the story. That's the good part. And this is my version of a story, and I called it Sky Food. And I'm going to use a toy to help you tell the story. Now, this is called a thunder tube. I'll hold it close to the camera. You can just see that it looks on one side like it is a drum. And it is an empty drum made of cardboard. But look at the spring that hangs from the bottom. If I shake this, listen to what it does. Whoa. It can make all kinds of weird sound and sound like thunder. So I'm going to use this. By the way, teachers, if you are a teacher watching this, these are made in a company in St. Louis. And I've tried to buy them in other countries, but so far cannot. But you can order them online. And no, I don't own stock in the company, but here goes the story. A long time ago, the world was very, very young. And when the world was brand new, and oh, what a beautiful world that we live in. When the world was brand new, the creator who made the world was alone. It is not good to be alone. So the creator reached down and he took dirt and he made people, and he breathed life into the people. And as soon as he filled the world full of many kinds of people, all of the people said, "Hey, we're hungry. We're hungry. We want food. Feed us. Feed us." Now, no good creator would make people and leave them hungry. So the creator decided to make food. What the creator did is he made food and he threw it into the sky and he put the food into the clouds. Now, the funny thing was, the clouds back then were not high in the sky like they are now. The clouds were close down to the earth. So all you had to do was reach up into the sky, grab what you wanted to eat. Boy, that is good. And you could eat it like, do this. All of you, reach into the sky with both hands. Hold your hands way above your head. Everybody, reach up into the sky, both hands above your head, and now grab a hold of a cloud. Now bring it closer to your mouth. Say the name of your favorite candy. Are you ready? Chocolate. It tasted just like chocolate. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to try it again. Candy corn. That tasted just like sugary candy corn. Now, in America, we go to the circus or we go to the carnival, and there's a special kind of candy, and it almost looks like a cloud. It is cotton sandy. No, it is called cotton candy. So everybody reach up into the air, grab a cloud and say, cotton candy. Now take a bite. It's just like eating sugary cloud taste. You could get any kind of food you wanted from a cloud. Now, your parents, sometimes they wake up in the morning and they are grouchy. They wake up in the morning and they are very grouchy. So they reach up and they grab a black cloud. Everybody reach up and grab a black cloud. Now, wring that black cloud out, squeeze it out into a cup, give it to your parents to drink. Go ahead, give it to them, and they can hold it up and oh, that's better. They can have cloud coffee or cloud tea. Then they're no longer quite so grouchy. Or how about you? If you wake up in the morning and you're thirsty, reach up into the air. Reach up into the air. Now grab a cloud. Everybody grab a cloud. Now hold that cloud up to the sunshine. Let it turn nice and orange from the rays of the morning sunshine. And squeeze it into your cup. Time to drink it. Go ahead. You can drink it because now you have cloud orange juice. Or I have an idea. Make a circle. Make a big circle in the air. Everybody make a great big circle. Stop. Now make a small circle inside. Stop. Now take your hand and poke the middle of the circle out. You have to make a funny sound when you do that. Now hold up that circle. Hold it up to the air. Let it turn red from the morning sunrise. Red like cherry. Oh, no. Red like strawberry. Oh, no. Red like raspberry. Yeah, raspberry. Take a bite. Oh, yeah, that was so good. Raspberry cloud donut. Or, I know. Make a half circle. Make just a half circle. Stop. Now cut the circle at the top. Now hold it up so it is only a half circle. Hold it up to the sun. Hold it up to the sun as the sun goes down at night. Let it turn red from the sunset. Now put it in your refrigerator. We'll have it to eat in the morning. Now take it out in the morning. Are you ready? Time to eat it. Oh, and spit out the seeds. Cloud watermelon. Oh, I know. Everybody, let's take a pair of scissors. Cut your cloud into small pieces. Now, put them into your cooker and stir them up and cook them. Now, it's time to take your fork or your spoon or your chopsticks. Oh, time to eat them. Oh, maybe we can add a little spice to it. Maybe some curry. Oh, we can have curry cloud rice. Or cloud noodles, or maybe we can have cloud chicken or cloud pizza or any kind of cloud food that you like. But do you know what? The people were happy with the free food. But people are not nice sometimes. Sometimes they waste things. And especially if they are free, they waste things. So people began to reach up and take a big piece of cloud. Everybody, take both hands, reach up, grab a big piece of cloud. Now take a small bite. Now throw the rest away. That is a terrible thing to do. You should never waste food. Never, never, never. And the Creator saw this, and the Creator became angry. And he shook the world. And he shook the whole earth and said, people of America, children of India, children from all over the world, quit wasting food. If you waste, I will lift my clouds high, and you will have to work to eat. Then it was quiet. For a long time, nobody wasted anything. Oh, it would have been terrible to waste food. They would share food. Here, would you like a bite of my food? And here, I'll take a bite of yours. And they would freeze food, and they would dry food. And somebody invented cans, so you could put the food inside of cans and have canned food. And you could have all kinds of ways to share food and save food and eat food, but you did not waste food. But I don't know if it was you, the little girl who was wearing a scarf around your head. Oh, no, it might have been the 15-year-old boy who was watching this story. No, it might have been a grandma who was watching this story. Or maybe it was an old man wearing a white hat. Not me, no white hat. But somebody wasted food. They reached up, they grabbed a big cloud. Everybody grab a big cloud. And they took a small bite. And then they threw the rest away. Oh, it is a terrible thing to do. And the Creator got angry. He shook the world again. People of America, children of India, children of Pakistan, children of China, of England, of North America, South America, Europe, and Asia, children of the world, quit wasting food. I will make my clouds go high in the sky, and you will have to work to eat. And it was quiet again. And do you know, for a long time, no one wasted anything. You know how people are. In India, they have to be a lot like they are in America. People waste things. Now, do you remember at the beginning of school when you bring your school supplies? We start the school year with all kinds of paper to write on. Let me ask you, and be honest, do you remember to write on both sides of your paper before you throw it away? Or do you only write on one side of your paper and waste the other side? I thought so. There are paper wasters out there. Let me ask you, mothers and fathers, sometimes do your children turn on the water to get a drink of water and let the water run too long to get it cold instead of just taking the water and drinking it the way it is? Or maybe if you are brushing your teeth, Do you sometimes let the water run longer than you should? And do you sometimes waste water? I thought so. There are some water wasters out there. Sometimes, do you turn on the lights up above you, or turn on a television or a radio, or turn something on and you forget to shut it off when you leave the room? Or maybe in the hot weather, you turn the air conditioning on, and you leave the house for a day and you let the air stay on. Electricity wasters. There are children who start every school year with brand new crayons, and they don't use last year's broken crayons with the wrappers off. Crayon wasters. And in this world, did you know that people waste 20% of our food? That is like going to the store and you bring home 5 bags of groceries and you throw away 1 whole bag. We waste 20% of our food. And I'm ashamed to say in America, sometimes we waste 25%. We buy too much and let it sit and it rots, or we just don't use it all, or for some reason we waste things when we could give them away or we could use them up. But back to the story. I don't know if it was a teacher or a student, a mother, a father, a grandma, a grandpa, or a little baby, but someone reached up and they grabbed a great big piece of cloud. They took a little bite. They threw the rest away. And the Creator saw this and shook the world and said, I told you what would happen. Uh-oh. The clouds went into the sky. They lifted up high. The next morning, people got up and they were hungry. They tried to reach the clouds, but the clouds were high in the sky. They could not get the free food. They climbed on top of their houses, but they could not reach the free food. They climbed trees, but they still could not reach the clouds to get their free food. They climbed up to mountain tops, but the clouds were higher than the mountaintops. They still could not reach the free food. And for those of you who are older and you say, well, helicopters, airplanes, hot air balloons, there were no hot air balloons, no helicopters, no airplanes back then. So they were hungry. And then they had to try picking grass. But the grass tasted terrible. They picked berries. They were better. And seeds and nuts. Oh, they looked up at the trees and they found peaches. They found apricots. They found pears. They found, oh my goodness, all kinds of wonderful fruits to eat. Then they began to grow vegetables. They grew corn. They grew rice. They grew okra. They grew many, many vegetables, including wheat and peas and so many wonderful vegetables. And they began to fish the seas and the oceans and the rivers. Some used fishing lines, some used spears, some used nets that they cast, and they ate the fish. And they began to eat all kinds of things. And some had extra food, and they opened up grocery stores and 7-Elevens and donut shops and places you could go to buy food. But that took money. And so you had to have banks, and you had to have bankers and tellers to work behind the counter in the bank. And some people like other people's money, and they take other people's money. So you had to have police officers to make people behave. And you had to have judges and lawyers. And of course, to teach people to read and to enjoy the world and to record information, you had to have teachers, and you had to have storytellers. Oh, no, they weren't called storytellers because you didn't yell the story. You would tell the story. And so in the world, you began to have storytellers. Now, some people in the world had extra time. And sometimes those people would do things like, here, let me show you inside of my book. Let me go to the right pages. Sometimes people would go ahead and hunt to make a living. Sometimes they would fish. Sometimes they would farm. Some would make furniture. Some became singers and dancers to entertain other people. But my favorite way to make a living is by being a storyteller. And I travel around the world telling stories for boys and girls everywhere. I have been to 32 states in America. I've been to 17 countries. I never have been able to come to India yet. I was invited to India, but that was a time when my wife got sick and I could not come. Now, my wife is no longer with us. I miss her terribly, but I love to travel to other countries. And sometime I would like to come to India, and I would love to share my books. Now, that is a story called Why Clouds Are in the Sky. There is a version of it from a folktale in Africa. There is a version of the story from North America, from the North American Native Americans, or sometimes they're called Indians. And you may have a version from India, who knows? But I call the story Sky Food. And my story is in English on one side. I have it in Chinese on the other side. And I have a CD inside of the book. So I have it in both languages.
And we can have it in Hindi also, Grandpa.
True.
We can have it in Hindi also.
And you have the story in India too. I love it.
We can have it. We can translate it in Hindi as well for us children here.
Now, I have a question. What do you call a story that is an old story that was written many years ago, and it belongs to all of the people? And the word means people, and we call it some kind of a tale. Do you know what kind of a tale?
The question is, what do you call a story that is an old story about old people?
Told many years ago by people, and it belongs to the world. And it was one of the first things that I said. If you know that question, write it down, write the answer down and type it into your keyboard, because that'll be a fun one.
This is the question I've sent them.
Now, by the way, I tell the stories. I write the stories. Sometimes I sing my stories. I'm better at telling the stories than I am at playing and singing, but not being the greatest at singing doesn't bother me, because I still sing and I still tell stories. So if you think you have to be the greatest before you can tell stories, you are making a mistake, because the way you get better at telling stories is by practicing and by telling stories. And in just a few minutes, I will tell you another story that all of you can tell. Great fun. But may I ask a second question now?
Please.
Okay. Where did the Creator put food so all of the people could reach it? Was the food on the ground? Was the food in the fields? Was the food in the water? Was it in the refrigerator? Was it in the cupboard? Or where in this story did people go to find their food?
Where did the creator put food where all the people could reach it?
Where was the food in the story? It ought to be easy to remember that. Hint, hint, hint,
This
hint.
is the answer for the first story. The story that is old, and old as that even story was. Manat, please add the correct answer with Bacha. Then we have this. The story name is Folktale Story.
It is called a folk tale. Hey, I bet a lot of the rest of you knew that too. And some of you just weren't fast enough.
Many of them have given the correct answer. Many of them.
And by the way, do you know how to spell folk? F-O-L-K. Yeah, spelling is very, very important. And that's how we remember things. We write them down, we learn to spell them, and that's how we remember information so we can share it. Now, the second question was, where did the creator put the food?
Answer is, the all food was in the clouds, which was near the ground.
All the food went into the clouds, and the clouds were up in the sky, but the clouds back then were close to the ground. But now wait a minute. Where are the clouds today? Are clouds today on the ground? Or where do we find the clouds today? Now, on a foggy day, the clouds might be close to the ground, but I don't find any food in them. So the clouds with the food must be way up. Now, I'm going to ask you one last question for now. Then I'd like to tell another story. Okay, why did the creator put the foods way up? And now I'm going to answer the other question. I hope somebody's answered it already. But the clouds were high up in the sky. And
okay. Why did the creator put the food high up in the clouds?
Yes, why did the creator put the foods high in the clouds? And I'll come back and let you answer that in just a few minutes. But can I tell another story right now? And then we'll come back for the answer of that one.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think it will be better because by the time I get them on board, we can continue with the answering session because I guess you are able to read the answers.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm a little too far away from the screen. I would need...
Right. I'll put it on the screen. Nearly all the children are asking.
I'm going to ask all of you to do me a favor. Hold up one finger on one hand. Can you do that? Just one finger. Now, hold up two fingers on the other hand. One finger and two fingers. Now, I want you to repeat. 2 goats. Say it. 2 goats. Now, because I cannot hear you, I have to trust that you are saying these things at home. So I'm going to hold up one finger on one hand, 2 fingers on the other, and I'm going to say 2 goats. You say it. 2 goats. First goat. And you say first goat. Here goes. Down the mountain. Cross the bridge. Cross the bridge. Up the mountain. Up the mountain. Eat some grass. Eat some grass. Yum, yum, yum. Yum, yum. Goes back. Second goat. Say it. Second goat. Down the mountain. Cross the bridge. Up the mountain. Eat some grass. Yum, yum, yum. Say it. Yum, yum, yum. Goes back. goes back, both goats. Say it, both goats. Down the mountain, cross the bridge. Uh-oh, uh-oh. The first goat said, I'm going across that bridge. But the second goat said, no, you're not. I am going across that bridge. But the first goat says, no, I am going across that bridge. But the second goat says, no, you're not. I am going to go across that bridge. But the first goat said, I am going first. The second goat said, no, you are not. I am going first. Look, do you want to fight? Yeah, let's fight. Everybody say, boom, boom, boom. Say it. Boom, boom, boom. Ah, splat. Say it. Ah, splat. They fell into the water. Say it. They fell into the water. Oh, it was terrible. Both goats got all wet. The first goat said, boy, that second goat is mean. The second goat said, boy, that first goat is mean. Now, new story. Say it. Two goats. First goat. Down the mountain. Down. Cross the bridge. Up the mountain. Eat some grass. Yum, yum, yum. Yum, yum, yum. Goes back. Second goat. Down the mountain. Cross the bridge. Up the mountain. Eat some grass. Yum, yum, yum. Yum, yum, yum. Goes back. Both goats. Are you with me? Say it. Both goats. Down the mountain. Cross the... Uh-oh. First goat said, look out, brother. I'm coming across that bridge. But the second goat said, no, you're not. I am going across that bridge. But the first goat said, I'm going first. The second goat said, no, you are not. I am going first. No, I'm going first. No, you're not. I'm going first. Look, you want to fight? No. Fighting is not a nice thing to do, and fighting is dumb. We should never fight. Okay, you want to talk? Yeah, talking is always a good thing to do. Now, everybody, hold up your fingers. Say, talk, talk, talk. Talk, talk, talk. Talk, talk, talk. Both goats talk. Cross the bridge. Up the mountain. Eat some grass. Yum, yum, yum. Yum, yum, yum. Goes back. First goat said, wow, that second goat is really a nice goat. What a nice person. I think we could be friends. Second goat said, wow, that first goat is really nice. I think we could be good friends. Now, I want you at home where you are watching to answer me. And answer right. I bet your parents are watching, or your grandparents, or a brother or sister. I want you to go ahead and hold up one finger if you think the first version of that story is the best, or hold up two fingers if you think the second version of that story is the best. Which version is the best for the world that we live in? The first of the two stories, or the second? And I would like to know your answers. Why? Why do you think that? Now, you can send your answers in, because both answers could be right if you explain them, but the first version or the second version. I will tell you something. When I was a little boy, I read about China, and our government in America told us China is a bad country. The Chinese people do not like Americans. China is a scary place. But when I grew up, times had changed. And I've been to China 15 times, and I get along so well with the Chinese people. Some of our government still does not get along, but I get along beautifully, and I found out it is much better for me to talk and to be friends instead of to fight. And other countries, it is the same thing. People grow up and they hear, oh, those people are bad. You should always fight with them. But I kind of think I want to know their story and I want to talk to them. Because I personally, my belief, I've been on the earth for 70 years. That's a long time. That's why I'm a grandpa instead of a kid. And I believe that we ought to have the second story instead of the first. That is my opinion. Now, you may believe in the first story because some people think they ought to fight for everything. But you know what? I think the world has got too much fighting and too much hate. And even in America right now, you will hear that we have an election in 3 months. And some Americans are not getting along with others. And it makes me feel so bad because I want everybody to talk, and to be able to go by each other, to do our business, and to not fight. I want to be able to solve our problems by talking them out, maybe for doctors to find vaccines to cure the medical problems we have, for our politicians to talk through their problems and solve the headaches we have, because it is my opinion, and maybe some of you feel different, but I like that story, and that is called the story of the two goats. It comes from the Ukraine, from an area that is now called Russia. And at one time, and unfortunately, Russia and America still sometimes really don't get along. And it's a shame because I love their story and I love to tell stories. So did you tell your parents whether the first story was the best or the second? And did you tell them why?
Most of them are saying the second story.
Oh, I'm so glad. But there will be some who say the first story, and you and I will never convince some adults that the second story is better, because there are some people who just like to fight. But I love the world of storytelling that I live in, where I can tell stories and make people happy instead of beat them in the head and make them angry.
That is really amazing. That is really amazing. I have sent the email links to nearly all of you. Kamaljeet, then Gurneet, Shrishti, Akalpreet, Mayur, and Yash.
Now, I'll go back to the first story. Why did the creator put the food in the sky? What were people doing? What were people doing that made the creator put that food in the sky? Did you send in an answer to that? Remember what they did? They wasted food. In our world, we waste resources. Some people drive their car when they could walk or take a bicycle. Some people leave the lights on. Now, I'm in my basement right now. A library is back behind me. I have lights on overhead. I have lights on the wall that is in front of me. I have lights on both sides because my basement is a little dark. And I have all those lights on. But when I go upstairs, all of those lights will get shut off because I try not to waste electricity. And I cook a lot of food at a time because I don't like to cook just for myself. I live alone and I'm lonely. And if I cook a meal for myself, that would be wasteful. So I tend to cook extra food and I package some of that extra food and I go to church. And I put extra food in the church freezer so people, if they are hungry, they can come to my church and take that food. Or I have a few of my neighbors and I will take extra food and give it to some of my neighbors and we share because I don't like to waste food. And my neighbors, it's great because what I found when I share with them, they have been sharing with me. And what fun. And I just try not to waste. And so what you might try to do, you might try to be better at not wasting water, at not wasting electricity, maybe not wasting our resources, or maybe not polluting as much, because our world, we need to keep it a beautiful, beautiful place. Now I'm trying to check my time. How much time do we have left?
Good evening, Grandpa.
Hi!
Good evening, Grandpa.
Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste.
In the red shirt. How do you pronounce your name? Lockett?
My name is Yash Bhanushali.
How old are you?
I am 12 years old.
What grade are you in? About 6th grade or 7th?
Yes, 7th grade I am in.
Oh, I love it. I taught 4th, 5th, 6th grade for many, many years, but I also taught, we call it junior high, 7th, 8th, 9th, and I've also taught high school, and I've also taught college. Oh, crazy man teaching everything. I see it's a black hat that you have on up above. I'm trying to read your name, but the screen is very small. What is your name?
My name is Akalpreet Kaur.
How old are you?
I am 9 years old.
9 years old. And are you in 4th grade?
Yes.
I taught 4th grade for lots of years. And now what's fun is my school children are grown up. And some of my children have babies of their own because they are grown up, they are married, they have babies of their own. I get emails from them and they tell me about their favorite story.
Grandpa, who inspired you for this profession?
Who inspired
For choosing this profession?
When I was a little boy, my daddy always told me stories. But sometimes he also told a bunch of lies. We never could tell whether daddy was telling the truth or not, but it was fun when he told the make-believe stories. And so I started telling stories when I was just a little boy. And now I tell stories to make a living. And I write books. And it is so much fun. But I feel bad about one thing. Do you know what? I have a bunch of brand new that are ready. Oh, yes, which is why I'm home by myself. I live by myself, and one of my children and 3 grandchildren and their mama, they live 8 hours away. So if I want to go see them, I have to drive 8 hours by car to go see them. And the weird part, if I go to the airport, it still takes me almost 8 hours because I have to wait around the airport for hours. And then I fly to another airport and have to wait for hours. I get there in a hurry, but you wait and wait and wait. And I have another son and 2 more grandchildren who live here in town, but he is always working, so I don't get to see him very much. So I have 2 sons and 5 grandchildren. One more reason they call me Grandpa Mike. But when I travel around the world to tell stories, it's funny because even the older people call me Grandpa. And I'm not their grandpa, I'm not that old, but they call me that because they are so kind and respectful. Now, I don't see other pictures. Somebody else just came up. Are you wearing a green shirt or is that black? I'm having trouble seeing.
Grandpa, there are two questions from
Yeah.
Shri. She is not able to log in due to some network issue. She says, "Sir, when did you start this profession? And why do you like this profession so much?"
I started telling stories just for fun, just because I love it. And I was a teacher for a long time. And I told stories in my classroom every single day. Every day. Like when I was teaching science, a little boy went ahead and ruined his experiment. And he was crying and felt really bad. So I told him a story. Do you know who invented the light bulb? Do you know who invented the electric light? Does anybody know?
No.
It was a man by the name of Edison. And Edison tried and tried and tried and tried to invent a light bulb. And every time he failed. And then one day, his laboratory caught on fire and burned up. It burned to the ground. And a reporter held up a microphone and says, "Mr. Edison, talk into the microphone. How do you feel about your lab burning down?" Edison said, "It's good." Because he says, all of my mistakes are now burned up and I can start all over now from the beginning. And later that week, he invented the electric light bulb and was a success. He did not let one failure ruin him. And that little boy, you mean I could do my experiment over? Yes, you can. And you see, I used story to make that little boy happy. Story teach children, and I use stories to teach adults. And then I learned, wow, I'm good at telling stories. And so I started telling more and more stories. And at night, I would teach during the day and I would go out and tell stories at night. Or I would.
Your expressions and your story is very funny.
You like
Yes,
this story?
sir. It is very funny.
Yes, sir. Especially your expressions which you make.
Yeah, sir.
Now, do you know why I make funny faces?
No.
Because some children can't understand the story. And if I make funny faces, use funny voices, and they hear me with funny voices, or if I use puppets, or my fingers, or if I use something, they see it, they hear it, they repeat it, and then they remember it. Hi, what is your name in the white? I see you on the screen. What is your name?
Sir, Kashika.
Say it one more time.
Her name
Kashika.
is Kashika. Kashika.
Ashika, namaste. Very nice to meet you. How old are you?
Sir, 10 years old.
13. Can you tell me, why did the creator put food up in the sky? What were
Sir,
people?
because the people were wasting the food.
They were wasting. And should we waste food?
No, sir. We should
No,
not
we
waste
don't have.
food.
Not at all. Now, as a matter of fact, by the way, this is called, repeat after me, D-U-L.
D-U-L.
C-I.
C-I.
M-E-R.
C-I.
M-E-R.
MER. MER.
So if you reach your little fingers way up high, grab some cloud food from the sky. First you have some breakfast, then you have some lunch. A nap right after snack time, boy, we'll eat a bunch. We're gonna eat cloud food, cloud food, cloud food. We're gonna eat some cloud food, well, every single day. Gonna eat some cloud food, gonna eat some cloud food, gonna eat some cloud food, well, don't throw it away. Now, if you look up into the sky, and you look at the clouds in the sky, sometimes, can you see shapes in the sky?
Yes.
Yes.
If we
Yes,
lay
sir.
on our back out on a cloud on a day when the sunshine is out, if you look up, could you maybe see a chicken lay an egg in a cloud?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you eat the egg? Yes. Could you share the egg? Yes. Should
Yes.
you waste the egg?
No.
No.
No, sir.
Gonna eat some cloud food, cloud food, cloud food. Gonna eat some cloud food. Well, don't throw it away. Now, if you look up in the sky, could you see a great big corn plant and maybe an ear of corn?
Yes.
Could
Yes,
you
sir.
maybe peel the green shucks off that corn and put it in some boiling water and cook it?
Yes.
Yes.
Could
Yes,
you
sir.
eat corn?
Yes.
We can eat.
Could
We
you
can
share
share
the
it.
corn? Could
Yes.
you share the corn?
Yes.
Yes. Should
Yes.
you
Yes.
waste the corn?
Yes.
No.
No!
No.
Cloud food, cloud food. We're gonna eat some cloud food. Well, don't throw it away. I wrote that story so I could get children all around the world to remember to eat things, to share things, but never to,
Waste things.
because we waste way too many things. And so I use stories to teach things. You have any more questions for Grandpa?
Sir, how
Sir, do you like horror stories?
Okay, I'll let somebody referee. Which story? I heard three people talk at once.
Horror.
Horror.
Daravni.
Sir, horror. Daravni.
Okay, so
Sir,
how about
horror.
Yash? You ask a question first. Yashi, you ask your question.
Ashika, you asked your question first.
Okay, ma'am.
That's okay. Who else has a question? You get to tell him who gets to ask.
Do you like horror stories?
Do I like horror stories? Scary stories?
Yeah, sir. I was also asking same question. Horror stories.
Yes,
Oh, do you know
sir.
what? Sometimes I do, but I don't like to be scared. All right, now then.
Because
There
we
is-
got scared so much.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
I can tell very good scary stories. I can scare people with my stories, but guess what? I do not like to tell scary stories to very little children. There is an American author. He writes books. He writes
Goosebumps.
poetry. And no, well, the Goosebumps is one book, but this man's name is Jack Prelutsky, and he calls it his Tinkle Principle. He says, if you tell a story and the children are sitting on the floor, the children get up, they walk away and leave the room, and if there are puddles on the floor and the children tinkle, they were too little to hear that story. And you should never tell that story to little children again, because if a story makes children tinkle or go to the bathroom in their pants, you should never tell that story to children that young again. So I never tell stories I never tell scary stories to very little children because I don't want them to wake up crying in the middle of the night. Because then I have mommies and
Very
daddies.
funny.
Then I have mamas and
Scary
daddies who
story.
are angry at grandpa. But if you are your age at 13, 14, 15, older children, I love to tell scary stories and scare them to death. It becomes lots of fun. But I never tell scary stories to really little children.
Okay, sir.
More questions?
Sir, from
I have a
whom do
question.
you like to listen the story most in your family
I
members?
love to listen to stories. There is-
Everybody loves stories, Yash. Everybody loves stories in his family. That's why he's a storyteller.
Some of you might have listened a week ago when my friend Sherry Norfolk was telling stories. Some of you may have been listening when my friend Bobby Norfolk, her husband, was telling stories. They are good friends
Which
of
one?
mine, and I travel with them sometimes telling stories. And so I listen to their stories, they listen to my stories, and I have many American friends who are storytellers, and I travel to other countries and I know many storytellers. So it is good fun for me. I went to Iran and I met about 15 storytellers in Iran telling stories. I met storytellers, other storytellers in Taiwan and in China and in Israel and in Pakistan and in Canada and in many other countries. It's great fun.
Grandpa, there is a question from Shrishti. I think this is the last question. Yeah,
Okay.
last question. She says, uh, which type of books do you like?
Okay. One, of course, I love children's books and I love storybooks, but I love to read. It's a type of story called fiction books, which are stories that are not true. They're made up. But I like a particular type of fiction, which is called historical fiction. I like books that take me back in history a long time ago. And so some of the information is true, but somebody had to make up a good story that makes me wonder, could it have happened? Yes. Or is it possible that no, it's all make believe? A really good author can make me feel like I lived at that time a long ago in history. And so I love historical fiction. So I have a historical fiction book that is coming out very soon. And it will be for middle grade readers and for adults. And that book is not out yet. It is my first ever young author's book. And it was supposed to be out, but because of the pandemic, the sickness worldwide, it's on hold. But that book will hopefully be out later this year. And so maybe you could read that book and find out what kind of book I like. It is a historical fiction book.
That's amazing, Grandpa. That's really amazing. We have just 2 minutes to end up our session. I guess it is the time that we should bid goodbye to them. And definitely we will see if we can get a. Okay.
I won't tell everybody.
There is a question from Arjun Pandit. He says, please recommend a novel to read. I'm a 15-year-old boy.
Okay, there is a story called The K. It is spelled C-A-Y. C-A-Y. The K. And The K is a story that takes place out on the islands. It takes place on the islands down around the Caribbean. And it has a young boy. And the young boy has a mommy and a daddy who they are prejudiced. Sometimes people do not get along with others, and they are prejudiced, and the boy is just growing up, and the boy, it's during wartime, and the boy is sent home from the islands. But his boat, the boat he is on, the ship he is on, gets hit by a torpedo, and it blows up, and he ends up on an island. And the explosion blinds the boy. And there's only one other person on the island, an old man. The boy cannot see the color of the old man because he is blind. The boy cannot feed himself without the old man's help. The boy cannot live without the old man's help. And the boy learns to love the old man like he is a grandpa. And it turns out to be the old man is a different color. And if he grew up and he could have seen, maybe he would have been prejudiced. But he learned that color is not what makes a good heart. And it is one of the finest stories a 15-year-old boy or girl could ever read. And it is called The K. Some people pronounce it key instead of K, because sometimes, man, down on the island, they call it the keys. But it looks like C-A-Y, it looks like the K. And it is a wonderful, wonderful story. And I would recommend that book highly to any young or old reader, because it is a book that is, it's a quick read, and it's a book that deals with prejudice, and it is a wonderful story.
That's amazing.
If you like
That's
it, there's a sequel, so you can read another book a lot like it.
Right. That's really nice. That's really nice. Here we end our session today. Thank you so much for sparing your precious time and spending it with us, Grandpa. Namaste.
Namaste. Sometime very soon, call me back. You and I will have a conversation about teaching online. Right now.
So here we end the session for today. Thank you so much. This was the last session for our storytelling season 1. We will be back with season 2. We will make the announcements and we'll invite all the children. Tomorrow onwards, we will be starting worries and concerns in the new normal, wherein we are inviting parents, children, and teachers to please come ahead and share their views, their worries, their concerns, and we will definitely talk it out. Thank you so much, and namaste.